And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is Thursday, October 9th. It's 2025. And in case you don't know, this is serious talk on everything that affects you. We will do markets, the economy, your job, your industry, the hostages that are going home, and what all that means. We'll do scams and shams and corruption and debt and deficits and all that. But everything pales in comparison to right now. In the next couple of days, some families are going to have hostages home after 2 years of a bunch of animals that'll see hell one day. Held in captivity. While I watched that little girl, Greta Thunberg, said she was held in captivity as a hostage by Israel. There are certain words we cannot use on regular radio, so I will not. We'll talk about the rest in a little bit. In case you don't know, if this radio show is not in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our X feed. If you don't follow us on X, you should. If you'd like to email us, just be nice. And we'll also post this show on other podcast apps and the BizTV YouTube channel. So we want to start out, in case you haven't figured out yet, a little bit about us here. We put people above everything. We're always amazed at the hate for no reason. The crazy hate for no reason. The racism, the bias of others because of race, creed, color, size, hair color, gender, what somebody believes about themselves. There's a whole big thing going on about people calling themselves this, that, and the other thing. I got news for you. I couldn't give a crap what they call themselves as long as they lead a life, a good life, within the rule of law. I'm always amazed others have to comment. But the big story is a bunch of frickin' animals. And actually, that's probably putting down animals. Murdered, raped, destroyed, blew up, kidnapped, destroyed generations of families going forward in the name of nothingness. Think about this. What did they get? What did they get out of this? They got nothing. A crap load of them are dead. And if you've seen the movie Ghost, what happens to the bad, the evil? They get taken away downwards. They created nothing. They produced nothing. Their city is destroyed because they hid in it. They hid with families, in hospitals, under schools. They got nothing. They're a bunch of vermin. They got nothing. Losers. Every word in the book. From top to bottom. I saw one of the heads of Hamas today say, he's vermin. Vermin also, to a lesser extent, is the media. As even today they were reporting, the Gazan Health Ministry says 60,000 dead. The Gazan Health Ministry is Hamas, the actual murderers. Oh, by the way, that number was 20,000, 60,000, 80,000. You had this yutz from the UN say 360,000 kids, even though there aren't 360. They're all insane. So tic-tac-toe. We'll never debate them because you can't win. The people that protest for Hamas, and I saw one lady say, I am Hamas. Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you go visit them? Anyway, the more important story is families are going to be reunited. I can only imagine what these hostages went through. We've seen pictures of a couple of them that look like, they look like they came out of Auschwitz. I have a lot of problems with President Donald Trump. This will outdo any of those problems. I say that as a Jew, a big Jew, but also as an American and as a human being. He gets the Kaltbaum Peace Prize if the ass clowns at the Nobel area do not give it to him. Except the Nobel people gave Barack Obama a Nobel Peace Prize before he even was in the White House. Go look it up. So if they don't give Trump one, that means it's just a bunch of bias, because this is big stuff. Now let's be clear and concise about the outcome of all this. Hamas will not stand down. They want Israel off the map. They want every Jew dead. By the way, they want every one of you dead, whether you are Jewish, Christian, Lutheran, Catholic. They want to destroy the West and do their own bidding by marrying 8-year-old girls and raping them, because they're such lovely people. Yesterday, I saw a Harvard graduate right on 6th Avenue calling for terror of this country. I cannot believe he's not been in front of the CIA yet. Hopefully he is. I thought it was a felony to incite terroristic activities on this country. We'll see. There is no doubt in my mind Hamas will try and do it again. The bad guys will do it again. But something else happened here recently. I want to make sure you know this, because I'm not so sure everybody knows this. You know who are the happiest people right now? The governments of the Arab nations. Years ago, these Arab nations were part of the terror. They all want now peace and prosperity. Even Syria, where the guy who runs Syria now used to be part of Al-Qaeda, wants peace and prosperity. Saudi Arabia, which has been blamed for the death of a journalist just years ago, peace and prosperity. I've been to the United Arab Emirates, a magnificent metropolis there of wealth and wealth creation. Of course, it's not exactly a democracy, but pretty good and controlled. They're so happy now. They don't want terror. They're done. Now, the mudhounds in Qatar, I think they've probably came to the realization also with something that Trump should be getting credit for also, and that was the bombing. Trying to take out a bunch of the Hamas people in Qatar. They realize, oh hell, they can get to us. They also realize that the president was trying to take out the nuclear of Iran, which means, I think they all know, we mean freaking business. Peace through strength. What a concept. Anyway, I think by Monday they should be home. It's still going to be a little bit on the fluid side. Part of the deal is Hamas has to stand down, give up their arms. I don't know if that's going to happen so easily, but I'm pretty sure Israel, if that does not occur, there's going to be more problems, because Israel had enough. They poked the bear. Remember what we told you years ago, my first time to Israel, we were missiled. We were bombed 6 times. And Israel didn't respond because the Iron Dome took out, and a couple of them just landed in the desert. Israel has been taking it for so long, and they're done. We'll keep you up to date on it. And what does this mean to you? Well, peace around the world is great for all of us. It's one big thing we don't have to worry about as much, don't you think? Up next, we'll put a bow tie on it, and then we have a lot to talk about market-wise. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. So I believe that the president should have a couple of Nobel Peace Prizes. He should have had one for the Abraham Accords. And I think there's going to be more and more peace going forward. And hopefully the world understands that. To the heads, not the countries, but the heads of countries like the United Kingdom and France, who gave Palestine, whatever they called it, to the putz who wants to be mayor of New York City that says he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. You can all go screw. You are on the wrong side of history. The right side of history is just freedom. Not socialism, not communism, not Marxism, but freedom. Not control freaks, but freedom. And we here at Investor's Edge and anything we else do going forward will be yelling and screaming about freedom and the rule of law. What a concept. Freedom and the rule of law. Shall I repeat? What a concept. Freedom and the rule of law. We move on. We segue. So, our first job today for all of you is to be repetitive with one addition. We'll start with the one addition, and we don't do this very often, but right near the open today, we sold our gold position that we bought right at the breakout recently and really made some good hay. And after we sold it, gold really sold down. But for all I know, it goes right back up tomorrow. We still think it's in a bull market, but it's very extended to the downside. And we're thinking maybe this is going to pull back some more, but we're not really sure. We were just comfortable taking it today. And if we have to get back in, we will. Let me tell you our reasoning. Number one, in the last week, we're seeing investment banks that haven't said a word about gold now telling everyone, 10% of your money should be in gold. I think one said 20. This is after 3 massive moves since the breakout of March of 24. 3 massive moves. So sentiment was off the charts. And one of these all-in feelings was off the charts after a big move. And then very ridiculously extended. Just very ridiculously extended to the upside. And trust me, we can be wrong, but you can't really be wrong making good cake in 8 weeks. Though, we'll see. So we just want to let you know that. And I think that is an outcome. The dollar is starting to strengthen in the market. Kind of turn the corner. We'll see if that continues. We'll let you know. But the big stuff I want to talk about, housing stocks and housing related, worsened. We stopped out with a couple of percent, 2 to 3% loss weeks ago and wasn't sure, and they have just trashed the housing and housing related, from Home Depot and Lowe's to Restoration Hardware to Sherwin-Williams to all the home builders. Just letting you know. Retail remains a very big issue. Now, there's a couple of retail stocks that really stick out. Strong. But 90 some odd percent are in downtrends of different levels. Restaurants, bear markets in the restaurants, some of them brutal bear markets. Kava Group, it's gone from 172 to 65. By the way, insiders are selling down here too. So restaurants and retail. The cruise lines have topped. The airlines, bad shape. Delta reports good numbers, and it was still up, but they sold into other airlines that were down today. So retail, housing, airlines, cruise lines, restaurants. That's not good news, but we're just letting you know. Auto dealers, not good. I'm noticing even the auto parts retail, AutoZone, O'Reilly Automotive, Genuine Parts. The autos, GM and Ford just broke out of range within a couple of weeks ago and have already failed. And don't ask me what the story is, but Ferrari was down $72 today. Wow. On top of that, we're seeing foreign banks starting to top out. On top of that, there is a group that we follow that is titled Auto, Truck, Equipment. These are components to autos and their systems, all topping out. Whether it's Magna International or others, we're just letting you know. You've had a bunch of the private equity companies like Apollo Group and KKR and Blackstone. Just total breakdowns. And in case you don't know why, I think the reason is, go look up First Brands. And maybe you'll know why there's a worry out there. You're also seeing companies that give debt and equity financing to middle and lower market companies getting blasted. Go look up First Brands and their bankruptcy, and they're being accused of fraud also. But the bigger story is, I think there's worry about credit. The junk bonds, you can measure them. Go look at HYG and JNK. They're ETFs for junk bonds, high yield. They both broke the 50-day today. Now, not a big deal, but they both broke the 50-day today. So junk bonds. And when do junk bonds do their worst? Economic strife or credit troubles. We're watching. Up next, what else are we seeing? Thank you for being here. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. By the way, do you see what we're doing with you? Some of this is repetitive. You do know that. We've been harping on worries about the restaurants and the airlines and the cruise lines and others. We're just letting you know there's some more things joining that, and we're watching. And why? Because the weight of the evidence, if more and more areas. Now, I will tell you this. The big banks, little bit of deterioration, not the end of the world. But the regional banks, not so great. I mentioned other financials. The semiconductors, hardly down today, though some are coming in only because they went vertical. So that's not that big of a deal. The AI stocks, somewhat of a mixed bag, but mostly strong. And it's my contention that if the market narrows, they better keep that AI contingent going. Because remember, tops in markets do not happen all at once. It's sector by sector and stock by stock. And it's also about the concentration, as we have told you. 7 stocks are like 35% of the S&P, 65% of the NASDAQ 100. Guess what those 7 are doing? Well, let's see. Apple, near the highs, pulled back $4 today, but near the highs. Broadcom, doing just fine. Little off highs, but doing just fine. Google, just pulled back a little bit, but has been strong. Nvidia is at a new all-time high today. Tesla, it's pulled back a little bit after a nice little run. Microsoft, trying. Just holding on to the 50-day moving average. Meta, trying to rally finally. Got defended on Monday with a high volume reversal and was up 15 today. Amazon, under pressure, but not far down. These are the big names. Did you hear me once say bear market in any of them? Did you once hear me say cascading to the downside? Nope. And if those 7 names do not gag and just hang in there, it's going to be tough to break the indices. And that's why you see trend up in the NASDAQ 100, and the S&P since April. With warts. And as we said, there are warts. We mentioned the autos again today. Insurance is no great shake. The consumer staples stink. Food, beverage, tobacco. Tobacco was strong, no longer. If you go look at and household products, if you go look at a chart of Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Coke, Dr. Pepper, the alcohol companies, they've been bludgeoned. So they're no help at all. Economically sensitive. If you take out the artificial intelligence part of the economically sensitive areas, there's a lot of not so good. You already know about the truckers, really bad. The rails a little bit better, but there was a buyout in there. Fortunately, the medicals have come on some. They were due. And as we stated to you before that, the healthcare area, as a percentage to the market, was at its lowest in, I think, 20 years. So that's a little bit of catch-up. So we're going to avoid the bearish phases. And there's enough out there to avoid. Our list of good areas is narrowing, and that's fine. We'll stay that route, and we'll keep you informed. It's all we can do. The dollar strengthening. Why is that bad? Why is that good? Well, the dollar's been very weak, helping commodities and our multinationals. A strengthening dollar hurts our multinationals. That is of note. And then you have some individual stuff. Some individual stuff. Just busting to the downside. Just some individual stuff. I noticed Travelers in the Dow broke out like a week ago and miserably failed today. Down $8. Don't want to see too much of that. Just do not want to see too much of that. But as long as the major indices stay above moving averages and trend, we good. If that changes, we'll let you know. Simplistic as that. If it worsens, we'll let you know. And just remember, we drown out opinion. We drown out noise. We pay attention to what the market tells us, because if bad things are to come, you catching my drift? You'll hear the bad news after the market drops. That's how it always goes. That's how it works. The market is a great discounter most of the time of the future. Of course, it's been a little different as of recent because we have quite the news-driven environment right now. We're just letting you know. We're just finding more and more to talk about on the not-so-great side. And that's the story. Bitcoin tried to break out, tucked in. I mentioned housing, but housing stocks are really getting hit now. In spite of interest rates staying stable, and in spite of the Fed lowering interest rates, the payroll stocks, ADP and Paychecks, are in a bear market. And of course, 1 + 1 = 2 there. The job market's weakening. We know that by the numbers. We'll be here every day to discuss, try and stay in line and on top. But the one thing we are determined is stay out of the bear markets. And there's just a few more starting to occur, topping out, worsening in a decent amount of areas. Not to mention the stronger China names in Alibaba, Baidu, look like they've run their course for now, but they went vertical. So there's an excuse for that. Few other things today. Costco with monthly numbers up a nice $27 today. But in the midst, I think Costco still has to deal with valuations. As we told you months ago, it's trading in the 60s. You can't have 60 multiple when you're growing at 10-12%. So that's come in some. Nothing wrong with the company. They're doing great. You ever been to one? Place is so cool. And that's a little bit of the story. Stable oil, stable bonds. We're all good with that. And lastly, there's been a lot of froth. And you know, we think of too much froth. We tend to worry about froth. It's usually an indication of too much excitement, too much speculation. Not the greatest thing to see. So there are a few things going on, and we'll let you know if they worsen. Up next, whatever else, whatever news of the day. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. All right, a few other points of thought. Housing prices are really now coming down in Florida. Not just Central Florida where I'm located, but it's not as bad as you would think. We're talking about homes that are already there, not new homes, though there's been discounts and giveaways on newer homes. What did I tell you? fantasy land. Remember, the goal of a seller of a home and their realtor is to get the highest price possible. Always put it out at a higher number, not a crazy number that you look stupid, but at a higher number, and then negotiate. But what we had are people putting out houses that were $500,000 3 years ago at 1.2, and there's no chance of getting that. And what we are seeing, days for sale extended and prices coming down in order to move the homes. But even as they come down in price, they're really not moving that well. There are houses being sold, but most homes are staying on the market for a very long time. I've seen some houses on the market for 9 months to a year with 6 price drops. I seen them put up a house, not sell for 6 months, take it off, bring it back 3 months later at a much lower price, and it's still not moving. Talking about the higher end, I'm seeing $1 million homes that were $1 million in 21 being put up for 2.8. I ain't getting it. So to drop that over 6 to 9 months down to 2.2, you would think, oh, there's a crash, but it should never have been 2.8 in the first place. And what I'm also seeing in certain areas, let's call them neighborhoods, too many houses up for sale, which means they're each competing with each other, which means it gives buyers a choice, which means when there's too much supply and not enough demand, supply has to fight on price, which means somebody blinks and lowers the price. That means the second person, in order to sell, has to lower to meet that, and then it's game on to the downside. That's how the market works. So we're just letting you know, we're seeing it around the country. But in the areas that were the hottest because of COVID, the moves out of the Northeast to places like Florida or Texas, the winds are really changing now. Las Vegas is really, I don't know if the word's in trouble. There's some real pockets of weakness there. And that's on tourism. You're seeing people laid off. That's no good. So we're just letting you know that's out there. And something we're watching closely, remember what we try to do here, put pieces of the puzzle together. Restaurants are weak, airlines are weak, cruise lines. By the way, the Delta CEO came out today and said everything's fine. Meanwhile, my last 2 Delta flights were like half full. Or maybe that's a small sample, we'll see. But anyway, in the markets, the housing stocks, the airlines, the cruise lines, the hotels, the restaurants, FedEx and UPS, which deliver a ton of stuff, the truckers, the auto dealers, the payroll companies, the retail stocks. I've always been a big believer the market has big ears and a bigger mouth. I'm wondering what they're saying. So stay tuned. If the market goes very much one note, which it hasn't yet, but it's been kind of moving that way, you'll be hearing more from us. When we did our webcast for today, we were just able to show more and more names breaking support levels, moving averages, and the like. One group today, that auto group, as we mentioned. And we're talking about the components all breaking down at the same time. All breaking down at the same time. Now, maybe that has to do with that THURS Brands. I think they're in that industry. Not sure. but we don't try to rationalize why. So stay tuned. We're on top of it. When the market starts to get a little iffy, we double up the effort, if not triple, even though I don't know how we double up our effort already, because you know how hard we work at this. And we'll be ready for everything or anything. But right now the goal is just continue to avoid the bearish phases, the tops in certain areas. And as we said today, we offensively decided to sell the gold and see where it lands. I still think it's in a bull market, but we have no interest in it dropping down to the 50-day moving average, which is way lower. It would be given back too much. If it reasserts itself tomorrow, it'll be another story. Plenty of times in our history, we have sold something and went back up, and we bought it back higher. Welcome to our world. And that's a little bit of what's going on. On top of that, the big news, Rush added shows. They're only doing like 8 cities, but they added shows to each one of those cities. Do you know why? Just what I knew. Massively strong demand. Rush needs to know that we are more passionate than the Deadheads for Grateful Dead. And that's tough to go by. By the way, I'm sure I'm going to get some emails from some Deadheads. Anyway, you have a great evening. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise they will be well. And waiting with bated breath for those hostages to get back. Take care all. Until tomorrow. Good night.